And that's when I realized I had brought a steak knife to a celery fight, and I was losing. Hey guys, how's it going? In today's video, I'll be sharing with you the next 5 scene studies of my 100 Scene Studies challenge, featuring the theme of food. I'll also be sharing with you some of my more memorable moments with food, so stay tuned for chaos. Now, my relationship with food goes back a long way. Duh. But seriously, I cut my teeth pretty quickly and demanded table food at 5 months. I was pretty quick to do most things, so one might say I was a pretty advanced baby. Unfortunately, I peaked during those months. I was also a very food-proper baby, saying "spoon please" at my first birthday party to eat my cake. But you wouldn't know that by the way that I handle food now. My utensil skills are not so finely tuned anymore. How I handle paintbrushes and pens, I don't know. Last week, I was making my usual lunch plate of egg salad, fruits, vegetables, cheese, and crackers. And for some reason, I try to use as few utensils as possible to fix said plate. I don't know why, our dishwasher works just fine. But anyways, I use a serrated knife to cut the cheese from the block, and I use that same knife to cut my celery stalks. And usually that works just fine. However, on this particular day, I heard the swing of the knife and felt instant pain. And that's when I realized I had brought a steak knife to a celery fight, and I was losing. I looked down to assess the damage and knew pretty quickly that this was bad. One thing you might not know about me is that I am very, very squeamish when it comes to blood. I mean, I even struggle walking past the meat section in a grocery store.
Nope, not even gonna think about that.
So when I looked down and saw the blood begin to pour from my wound, I felt a little lightheaded. Now keep in mind, this was a serrated knife, and it cut deep. Long story short, I required assistance in the bandaging of my casualty, but I think it's gonna leave a pretty wicked scar, so at least there's that. Unfortunately, wounds are not my only issue with food preparation. I had a particularly unfriendly incident with a container of microwave mac and cheese. Now, I'd like to preface this story with the disclaimer that I was like 14 and I had not yet delved into the wide, wonderful world of learning how to properly cook things. So my family was gone for the day and I was craving some mac and cheese. So I decided to whip up one of those little microwavable mac and cheese thingies. I was reading the package, getting it ready, putting it in the microwave, I'm waiting for it, and all of a sudden I start to smell smoke. And of course at this point the sirens are going off in my head, and I can see myself standing outside with my weeping family watching our house go up in flames. So I book it over to the microwave, yank the door open, and there's just smoke. And amidst the smoke is a black gaping hole in the middle of my mac and cheese. And it dawns on me. This required one major ingredient that I did not add: water. Needless to say, that container found its home in the trash can and I found something else to eat, because I could not face that kind of failure again. Thankfully, not all of my
You didn't read the directions
moments don't have such a tragic ending. I really enjoy experimenting with baking and trying new recipes, and I had found a recipe for chocolate chip blueberry cookies that looked fan-frickin-tastic. So I took a crack at it. But somehow during the process, I had accidentally switched my single recipe to a double, but only for the salt and baking powder. Thankfully, they ended up tasting just fine, so crisis averted, but it was definitely a life lesson in reading the directions. Directions are generally there for a reason. But you know what's not there for a reason? The novel before the recipe. I do not need to know how your great-aunt Josephine's 7th cousin-in-law, twice removed, made this recipe for her squirrel dying of typhoid in the Trojan War, and it magically healed him so that he grew up to plant the first oak tree in Central Park. I do not care. Please just show me the recipe before I die of old age. Moving on. Now, this would not be an Alice and Aletha food discussion without a mention of my most beloved dessert, my soulmate, the coolest friend, ice cream. It was a fine Tuesday evening in the month of June. I actually have no idea what day of the week or month of the year this was. I don't even know what year this was. For the sake of the story, it's summertime. Let's go with it. So I was out to dinner with my parents, and it was this cute little mom and pop restaurant a few towns away, and we had just finished a delicious dinner. I'm gonna be entirely honest, I don't remember what that dinner was, but I remember that it was really good. Now, my parents had been telling me for a couple months now that this place had big ice cream cones. And you know, I love ice cream. So I had saved just enough room in my little tummy for a big ol' ice cream cone, and this thing was no joke. I mean, we're talking like 10 inches of ice cream on a 4-inch cone, and it was beautiful. I was so excited as I turned from the counter to walk back to the table to eat this big, beautiful ice cream cone that I walked straight into a table and just about tossed said cone on my dad. Thankfully, we were the only ones in the restaurant besides the employees, so there weren't too many people there to mock me, but I'm not gonna lie, my heart stopped a little bit when I saw this ice cream cone's life flash before my eyes. It's a good thing I didn't end up dropping it, because it was delicious. Unfortunately, not all of my food experiences have been delicious ones, though. My dad's a pretty good cook, but to this day, I have tasted nothing so foul as what he cooked for my sister and I one night. He was making some veggie stir fry, and we ate a lot of stir fry when we were vegans, so this was a dish that I knew very well. And when I bit into this, I knew very well that a mistake had been made. My dad was still fixing his plate, so I had just enough time to look across the table at my sister and see the look of horror in her eyes that I knew was in mine. But for some reason, neither of us wanted to say anything. He had just spent the last half hour making us dinner, so I guess we stayed silent out of respect. I don't know. Anyways, he sat down, took a bite, and it was instant gag reflex. He spit it into the trash and said,
This is disgusting. Why are you eating this?
So we spit out our bites too and all had PB&Js for dinner instead. Long story short, freezer burnt green beans spoiled the whole pan. So that's it for today's video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed these scene studies as well as my food shenanigans. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment with one of your own funny food stories. Huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for helping make this video possible. And if y'all are interested, come join us over on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. We have a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys!